Hello and welcome back to Chapter 8. We're still talking about personal finance, and we will be for a few weeks. This time we're going to talk about simple interest, which is in Section 3. And let's take a look at what simple interest involves. So we're going to calculate simple interest. Now, if you don't have some paper in front of you, grab a pen and pencil and piece of paper, take down some notes. So you'll want some formulas here if you haven't gotten them out of the book. You're going to calculate simple interest, the future value formula. Don't worry, I'll show you all of these and how to work with them. All right, here we go. Interest. You probably have a good idea what this is. It's the dollar amount. It doesn't have to be dollars either. It could be euros or something else. But we are, most of us, in the US, and we get paid for lending money or pay for borrowing money. So it's that extra amount on top of what we're borrowing or lending that's the interest. The amount of money we deposit or borrow is the principal. And the rate at which we accumulate that interest is called the interest rate. Remember, you also have to have that as a percent. It'll vary from bank to bank or credit union to credit union, and according to the length of time that your money is there. Simple interest, very important here. Let me underline this. It's the interest calculated only by the principal, only on the principal, only on the principal. As you'll see in the next lesson, that is calculated on top of the interest you've already accumulated. Simple interest is only calculated on the principal. So here we go. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And I'm going to throw in my own annotation here. I would be tempted to use a small p for this one. Not that it has to be, but so that would be my formula. You can use either one that you're comfortable with. R is rated, it expresses as decimal when we're calculating interest. So if you see a 6%, switch that to 0.06 and you'll be ready for some calculations. Okay, let's start with an example. Number one, you're going to deposit $2,000 in a savings account and you're going to get 6%. And that's the annual rate of interest. So what is the interest at the end of the first year? How do you do that? Well, here's the formula. I equals P R T. Remember too, not that it matters number-wise, but that principal is spelled with P-A-L. Okay, moving on. So how do you calculate it? Principal times rate times time. Right there. There's the principal. It's the money that was deposited. This is the 6% rate as a decimal, and this is how many years you left it in there before you wanted to calculate the interest. So at the end of the first year, after you multiply those three together, you get 120. Remember, we're talking about dollars, so your interest here would be your answer. The interest is $120. Example number 2. Let's take a look at another one. Again, it's a simple interest loan, and we're going to take it out for $1,800, 2 years, at a rate of 8%. So we've got everything. We want the interest, we've got the principal right there, we've got the rate, which is 8%, and we've got the time. The time, 2 years. All we need to do is fill in those details. Here's our interest, principal, rate, time. Principal, rate, time. Do the multiplication. There's our $288 is the interest. Now take note that interest is only calculated on the principal, which in this case is $1,800. No matter how long you leave it in there in the bank, let's call it the bank, it's only going to be calculated against the $1,800. Regardless of the interest accumulating, the interest is never calculated on what you've accumulated so far. It's only on the $1,800. All right. Next, future value. A for amount, P dollars, that's principal. Simple interest rate, R. And if you're taking for T years, here's your calculation. Now remember, the one we had before was just for the interest. This one's for how much is there at the end of T years. How much is there? This will be, this times this will give us how much interest. But we've also got the money that we put in. It hasn't gone anywhere. So here's our formula, and I'll write it out again. P, principal, that's a 1, not an L, plus the rate times the time. Simple interest, and that gives us how much is there at the end of T years. Fortunately, principal is also known as the present value. That's, if we're looking into the future, this is how much we put in the present. So principal and present value are the same thing. So let's go for an example using this. We've got a loan of $1,060. There's our principal at 6.5%. There's our rate as a decimal, and it says 3 months. Okay, watch out. 3 months. Remember what the other one said? It was the time in years. T is in years. Make sure you put that in red or something flamboyant in your notes. So if we want the future value, first of all, we'll start out with the formula. Amount equals principal times the quantity, 1 plus the rate times the time in years. So what will the amount be at the end of that time period? Well, the principal is $1,060. 1 is 1 plus the rate is 0.065, and the years, here's the tricky one, and this is put in here intentionally to make sure that you don't make a mistake on this. Time is not 3. So I'm going to go back here and erase this out. Erase that 3. That does not count. We need it in years. How much is it in years? 3 months is 3/12 of a year. 0.25 if you wish, or 1/4 if you wish. So we'll put this 0.25. That's easier to put in than it is to put in 1/4. And then you're ready to put it in your calculator. Make sure the parentheses go at the right place. You don't need these. Probably will just have a time sign there. So there you go. There's a principal. There's a 1 plus RT. There's a principal. There's the 1, the rate, the annual rate, and the time in years. So the loan's future value, that's 3 months later, starting as $1,060, at 6% for just 1/4 of a year, this is how much would be in your account at the end of 3 months. And let's pick up one more example. On the other side, let's suppose you borrow from a friend. Probably not the best idea. How about borrowing from someone at the bank instead? Okay, so this is going to be the principal. You promise to pay back $26.55 in 6 months. What simple interest will you pay? Okay, you feel like you ought to be confused. Well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get confused. So here's the formula. A equals P principal times the quantity 1 plus RT. So what do we put in? Okay, we know we're going to pay $26.55. That is the amount. This is the amount. So $26.55 equals. Now what's the principal? Well, we're borrowing $2,500. 1 plus. We don't know the rate, so we'll just leave that as R. You can put it X if you want to. This is 6 months. Don't put a 6 in for the time. Remember, you have to change that to years. So it'd be 6/12 of a year, or 1/2 a year, or better yet for your calculator, 0.5. So you'll have $26.55 equals 2,500 times 1 plus R, because we don't know that yet, and that's times 0.5. You might want to rewrite that real quickly. Equals 2,500 times 1 plus, and we'll swap these two right here. So make it 0.5 R. There we go. Now we're ready to roll. Now remember your equation skills, your algebra skills. 26.55 equals, we need to distribute this 2,500 over the two terms inside the parentheses. 2,500 times 1, okay, got that, 2,500. Now the 2,500 times 0.5, we'll have 1,250 R. Next, we'll subtract the 2,500 from both sides. So on this side, we'll have 155 equals, and these two will be gone, 1,250 R. Now how do we get R? Divide both sides by 1250. Let's move over here, and we've got 155 over 1250 equals 1,250 R over 1250. So R is, let's see, 31. If you want to reduce it, you don't have to. Let's see, 250. So you need to change this to a decimal, and then change that to a percent. We talked about that the other day. So let's continue and see what the result is when we put in the calculator and change it to a percent. So here are the numbers. You've got the amount that you're going to pay back. The future value of that loan is $26.55 to your friend. This is how much they loaned you. You get 1/2 a year because it has to be in years. And here's the rest of it. We did all this, and there's our decimal value for R. Switch that to a percent, and folks, we've got a simple interest rate of 12.4% per year. Oops, lost that. There we go. I'm just trying something here. Okay, never mind my scribbles. I was just trying something. All right, I'll see you again next time when we'll talk about compound interest. So remember, simple interest is only calculated on the initial principal, the initial amount of money that's put in the bank or loaned. I'll see you next time when we're going to compound what we know. Until then, you take care of yourself.